a Marlins game, the people, even in the fancy schmancy seats behind home plate there, everybody's on their cell phone and nobody's watching the action. Nobody.
Our friend George was asking if how much would they pay you? How much would they have to pay to go to the game? And I laughed. I said, "People used to go regularly. That
it's a good ballpark from viewing. Yes. Problem is crossing into Dade County. I mean, as soon as you cross into Dade County, the driving tactics are altered completely. It's like Formula One versus NASCAR from Broward to Dade.
Is it bad that I feel more comfortable there? Like I was there Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm just driving like a loon. And it's accepted.
I spent much time there, trust me.
Like I get into Broward and I have to like control myself. And it's not like Broward's perfect. It's still South Florida, but it's
no. I mean, the drivers are awful. Probably. I mean, you would hear this in every city. Oh, man, nobody drives like the people
Miami's great. Miami, you can do like the stuff you would get honked.
You don't know
at.
if the guy next to you is passed away and is at the wheel. Like literally Weekend at Bernie's.
Like you pull moves anywhere, even in Broward, like you cut someone off the middle finger, and I'm like, dude.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do anything to you, but if you drive in Miami like a lunatic, no one even notices. They're like, yeah, that's normal.
Very normal, yeah. I mean, the rules are suspended there of any kind of road etiquette. That's for sure.
They don't honk.
Tires are flying out of nowhere, even though they didn't come off any car. People are dropping stones from the bridges. The fuck?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here on the Defo Show on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubitz, and it is interesting. I could see that where you would feel more comfortable.
Just free.
In a state of chaos.
To do as you wish.
That's great. All right, we were talking about this on our morning briefing on nofilter.net, now on Believe podcasts. We're hoping it's on a bunch of other stuff because our big meal ticket went out of business. Unbelievable. Even though that's unusual, isn't it? Where something is heavily well-funded. I mean, almost like the Kamala Harris campaign, if that goes up in smoke after all this money that they were able to put together yesterday. And I thought, Lubie, I know you've been very pessimistic about this whole thing, and you thought it was a wrong move, which, I mean, it is a strange move, and we don't know that it's going to work out. But I actually felt a little momentum shift yesterday.
Well, look, if you could have told me that they could have done it this late in the game and it's somehow be an advantage, I wouldn't have believed you, and I would have then been like, huh. But that's literally what it actually was. I think it was Biden. I think the fucking morons would have fucked it all up, and Biden was like, just leave me alone. And because literally the fact that they did it after the RNC is fucking amazing. Like they literally spent a whole week talking about their guy. That's actually what they did. They literally spent a whole week talking about an old senile man should not be president. Well, like
guess what? Who's the old senile guy with the rambling mind now?
Exactly. Yep. It was actually fucking a masterclass.
Yeah.
And
you think it was planned now? I mean,
100%. The way
I don't know if I'm buying that 100%.
Yeah, no, there's no way it wasn't, because it actually every angle fucks the Republicans. What's interesting is the reason I was against it was because it was what Mayo wanted, which would have been a disaster, waiting for the convention, which the convention, by the way, is not till August 19th.
Yes. I mean, they had to they should have made this move 2 years ago.
But the thing is, if they do it earlier, then you can have a year to focus on Harris. They now literally have 2 months to focus on Harris.
And she seems like a bright light after what we saw yesterday.
The thing. There's outside of her laugh, there's not much to go, and being a black woman, which remember, they're supposed to be staying away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing to go after her for. So the longer they give the Republicans, the worse it would have been, actually. So it's actually very smart what they did. The reason I didn't think it would work is because it was supposed to be chaos and fighting and who's going to be the candidate. Well, in one day, she not only already has enough delegates to be the candidate, she's raised $300 million, I think,
pretty
in
remarkable.
1 day.
What she did, though, that I thought was impressive yesterday was now naturally she's on very favorable turf there, as most of these rallies are conducted in front of the people that think you're the best, as evidenced by Trump, with the exception of the one kid. But and that was not meant to be a bad joke. But yeah, Harris got up in front of the whole campaign what would it be? All of her
Checking
campaign
staff.
workers
He's
yesterday,
checking staff.
his staff, yeah. And wow, I mean, she was extremely impressive. I hadn't seen her be that impressive at any time in the past, and I thought, oh, maybe we got a shot here, Louis. We might have to rethink our position. I know it was in 2016 when he won. That the guy, the handicapper Wayne Allen Root. He used to be an occasional participant on the Proline show. This is how I, this is how I, measure my star caliber, qualities. But yeah, he was sort of a sub on the Proline show, like when Stu Feiner wasn't on there. Right? We keep making that mistake, but when like Chip Chirimbus or something couldn't make it, they would put this Wayne Allen Root guy in there. And Polyman pointed this out to me. He was remarkable because he would offer. He was one of these guys that kind of handicaps like that, the Greek a little bit, where it offers no logic whatsoever and just says, I like the Chiefs. And you're like, why do you like the Chiefs? Well, I just like the Chiefs. And he was very successful. I mean, he would hit game after game while the other guys were losing their ass. And he sent it in 2016 on Trump. Wasn't Trump like 40-1 at some point? No one ever thought he was going to mow down all of those people and get
in
the nomination.
2015, after he said the Mexicans are rapists, and it was like he talked about like 2 or 3 different minorities.
Drugs. He's still saying that.
Yeah, but they accept it now. Remember, it was a time where no one had said that was running for president.
Yeah,
and it was supposed to derail the candidacy to the point where it never got off the ground, and his odds got so bad that they got anywhere from 40 to 50-1.
Which you would have thought it was the longest of shots, maybe even worthy of a higher price than that. But this guy unloaded on. He made like millions and millions of dollars betting this. But yeah, I mean, if you sent it in on Trump right after the Republican convention and the guy with the shooting and everything, you would have given zero chance for a feeble-looking Joe Biden beating Donald Trump. You would have thought he was a cinch to be president. But I don't know that changed significantly enough yesterday, but I believe it did, Lubie. And I like the fact that you're now on board with the move because I think Joe B was going down. I really do. I don't think he was going to win this thing. And it's interesting too. I was actually talking, Lubie. You'll find this surprising, to a young voter yesterday, and I said, "Well, so who would you favor in this thing? Well, would you vote for if you were voting? Are you voting for Trump or what would you vote for Harris?" And I said, and no way am I going to be judgmental about it. And I couldn't help myself, Lubie. As soon as he said, "Well, I'm leaning towards Trump," I got up and left. You can't help it. I don't know. I feel pretty strongly about it. Anyway, the reason that we bring some of this up is because we often talk about this, and there are people in our audience that will appreciate this, that we are acknowledging the explosion in the interest in women's sports. Lubie, are you ready to sign off on that? I don't think there's any denying that there has been a huge surge in interest in women's sports. More so this year than even over the last decade or so. Is that a fair statement? The interest in women's sports, is it at an all-time surging high at this stage? What do you think?
Yeah, no. I mean, the interest in women's sports across the board. Look, growing up, tennis was huge in the world, but I don't remember any other sports mattering. The fact that women's basketball does get eyeballs now. You still have women's soccer, which is still pretty big. Women's tennis is still pretty big. Yes,
women's basketball. Sports, I mean, look,
women's sports across the board is much more viewed than it was years ago. That is 100%. Whether we do it or we don't, that is true. It's hard to fight that.
Yes, and one of our theories, and a lot of people can relate to this. If you were a child of the 50s or early 60s, women didn't play sports; they just didn't. You had the one tomboy, and there were often very disparaging inferences made about that particular woman, and it was at a time where diversity, equality, and inclusion was not something that what was even talked about. I mean, it was like, well, wait a minute, man, this woman's got problems, and yet if a woman could acquit herself well enough and play with the guys, it was something. At least when I was growing up in Brooklyn, that was somewhat respected. But you rarely saw it, Lubie, because women just didn't play sports. They didn't get involved, and I always thought that they were missing out on a lot of valuable life lessons because of the tremendous and obvious parallels that there are between what goes on and what it takes to contest a sporting event and be a part of it, whether you're learning sportsmanship, whether you're learning how to lose graciously, and what it does to you in terms of your determination to become a winner. So many different things. I mean, interacting with people, sharing the basketball. If you're, going to be one of these guys just going to chuck all the time, maybe it says something about you, right, Lubie? I don't know. Every now and then, would you consider a pass? Maybe. Did you do? Were you a chucker, Louis? No, you were probably just a guy that was out there for your overall floor game. I don't see you as a big scorer in basketball.
I like running point. I would take the shot if I had to. I like making a really good pass over a shot any day. Yeah. And I love playing defense. I was good on defense.
See, I didn't care much for defense.
I was a team guy. My buddy Conrad was like, we would call it. He would he would like waddle back.
Yeah.
Really, his goal was to try and just be down there.
Get in position to chuck, of course. But you know what? Lousy defensive players, I was not a good defensive player, but lousy defensive players always resent the insinuation that they're lousy defensive players. Is that not a universal truth? So somebody labels you. I still feel some sentiment of negativity towards my friend Zach Albahay, who implies occasionally when the subject of basketball comes up on some Facebook post, and we've been friends, knew the guy since high school, and he implies that I was a chucker that didn't play any defense whatsoever. And I still sort of bristle at that, Lubie. No, I tried. I just wasn't a great defensive player. Is that possible? This is your issue with Tyler Hero. When he finally started to try and exhibit some, desire at least to play some defense, you cursed him out and said, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Well, it's like, if you're gonna do it, don't do it now. Don't dive on the floor like a jackass when you had no shot at getting the ball. I'm all for effort, but like that dive, I have it in my head to this day because he had no shot at the ball. He wasn't even near the ball. It's like, it's clear.
And I'm applauding the fact that here's a guy that's always been ripped for his lack of defensive prowess and intensity and desire. And he's showing, like Dennis Rodman, like tenacity going after a basketball. So what if he fucked up his wrist? That's why usually, look, it's not his thing. What could you do? But the reason I bring this up is because of the parallels that go on between sports and real life. And I don't know there was any more in evidence than it was yesterday, Louie. Did you catch any of this Kimberly Cheadle testimony? I know you were probably running around a little bit, no?
It's actually, as bipartisan, it's funny because it's something the Republicans would bring like a witch hunt, but the Dems are actually the party that like finding out justice. Yeah. So this is actually one of the rare times where both are on the same side, because as much as the Republic, it's their candidate, and if it was vice versa, the Republicans would be laughing. The Dems don't act that way. The Dems are grown adults who like the idea of having a justice system and not having chaos. So when a presidential candidate / former president gets shot at, the Dems are not happy about it, and the Dems are in tow all the way with the Republicans.
They acquitted themselves pretty well with their questions. I agree with you.
Because it's not good. What happened is bad. It doesn't matter who you. We all know how I feel about that fucking person, and I still wasn't.
You don't want to see a guy's head blown off.
Like all the jokes. Oh, they missed. Like for a second I was like, I wonder what it would have been like, but I wasn't rooting.
He doesn't deserve that. You may despise the guy and loathe him like many people do, and Look, I never was a fan of Trump. I always thought he was a Hugh Hefner wannabe.
The whole time.
Congratulations, you made a lot of money. Don't you always despise the guy that's waving the fact that he has more money than you in your face?
No, look, the guys that make the most money are the ones that you don't even know it.
Yeah, exactly.
They hang, they chill, they bullshit. Look, the Duke. He was
do something quietly generous, and you'll impress me far more.
You knew the Duke had money just because of how he acted, but not because of how he acted.
No. He was just as excited about winning a dime on a bet as he was about making $30 million in his youth after he got out of Harvard University. But wasn't the type of guy to tell you about how much money he had all the time.
Those are the best people. Yeah. Like that's money to me, is when you have so much money that you don't give a fuck. You just act like nothing's different.
You've beaten the system. Which I recommend every day. We say this often on the show from time to time, and it should be something that you consider, that don't let a single day go by where you don't try to figure out a way to beat the system.
Exactly. There you go.
Right? Although Greenlight Ventures. Stock's at $1.10, Lubie.
There you go. Can you sell it? Okay, you able to sell it?
I don't know that anybody's buying right now. No. I mean, it was trading, but my shares are not tradable for a
Okay, I'm
certain
curious. Let me
restricted
know
period
when
of
you
time.
can sell it.
Well, probably when the things were 2 cents. No, I don't know. Artificial intelligence is coming in again. We'll get into that, but I just wanted to finish this thought up because
Yeah.
we rarely do. I mean, and we're out there on a wild tangent with a lot of different things sort of being infused into the conversation. Which I don't know. To this point, I would think, Luby, the audience is wondering where the fuck is this going?
Pretty
And
much.
but it is going somewhere because I'm watching this Kimberly Cheadle up there, and I couldn't help but think that this was the Pentangeli testimony all over again. This woman said nothing. Now, you were the head of the Secret Service, and some 20-year-old kid crawled up on the roof, not just any roof. This was the roof of the police headquarters, the building that the police were gathering in. I guess it was one. I'm not sure if it was all arms of law enforcement that were there, but nonetheless, at least the local police. This was where they were headquartered for the event, in that building. And people see this guy crawling up on the rooftop, and they're telling the cops, "Hey, there's somebody up there with a rifle." I don't know what the regulations are in this. I would imagine. What's the deal? It'll be the sniper that was on the roof that took this kid out with one shot, which nobody's talking about that. Amazing. And he wasn't allowed to fire, even though somebody was pointing a rifle at the president
Well, that's what I don't get is
or the
supposedly
former president.
I saw this person 20 minutes earlier. Like, why are you not disarming them? Why are you not like I don't look, that's why I don't mind them having this. I just can't watch these grand jury things. They're just boring as fucking all hell. But I'm glad they're doing it, and I'm glad they're doing it this swiftly. It's obvious why they're doing it this swiftly, because if it was a Democrat, it would have taken them months to do this fucking thing. But
There would be no investigation. But the woman said nothing. It really was like watching, and here's where the sports parallel. It was like watching a Belichick post-loss press conference. Said nothing. I mean, you couldn't say nothing and take any longer to do it, and do it to the variety and barrage of not just. I don't even know if they asked questions. They more or less just volley insults at the woman. Which could you give 5 cents for her chances of even becoming the director of security at your local Walmart after this? No way, right? Shoplifter aisle 6. It's like, what are we talking about? You couldn't have a worse scenario in terms of security at any event ever. I mean, even the thing that happened, I mean, was a joke at Hard Rock Stadium by comparison to allowing a potential assassin to. I mean, and this isn't like some slick, guy that was sent over here by the KGB. Although they would be unlikely to be the source of someone that was going to try to take out Donald Trump. That's for sure. They want them to win. I'm surprised Putin didn't send, consolation or whatever, considerations to Donald Trump. Maybe he did. I don't know. Did Putin call Trump and say, "Good thing you're still here"? Trump. I mean, how many guys that wrote negative stuff about Trump are going to be subjected to Navalny type treatment if this guy gets elected? But we don't want to get too carried away. It was like the vaguest thing I've ever seen. It really reminded me of a lot of sporting event press conferences, including the likes of any Heat coach that's resigning and Don Shula stepping down. We've talked about that many times. I mean, what level of sincerity was there? I wish you had been working with me at that
I
time.
never got to do Shula. I did.
Yeah.
I got to. I didn't get to do Jimmy either. What's the earliest Dolphin? I'm trying to. I was maybe Sperano. I don't know if I got. I feel like I got to cover something Sperano, and from that point on, I covered Dolphin coaches, but I never covered. It was way after Shula. And
didn't Sperano have a little bit of a Jerry Faust feel to him? Like you're wondering, how the fuck did this guy get the job? I know he's friends with Bill Katona. And he seemed like a decent enough guy. He became sort of a likable guy. I guess the biggest surprise in his career, not that he got a head coaching job with the Dolphins and actually took the team to the playoffs one year, but that he became the offensive coordinator, a guy that seemed dramatically, radically, and completely 180 degrees opposed to running any kind of an offense that was going to put points on the board. and he became the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. Holy rich coatite. My God, what are we talking about? But then you had this other thing, and I couldn't help but think of the Rooney Rule, Lubie, with this Kamala Harris coverage that was going on. I do. I'll tune in to CNN. I know people think that they've lost it, that they become to
They
news
move
what
right over
ESPN is to
this one.
sports. I don't know. I mean, they're grasping at desperation. It seems like all the time.
Yes.
And that's fine though, because they're expressing the point of view that I agree with. So
Oh, okay.
why would I watch? I mean, I'll watch other stuff. I mean, I do read these articles, these inflammatory, ridiculous, off base articles in the New York Post. I mean, you can't imagine that they're doing anything but celebrating the fact that they think that Kamala Harris is a complete bimbo. I mean, a brainless bimbo
I mean, that can't be true.
is the way that they portrayed him.
The way they're
While
stressing
glowing
out.
praise is being heaped upon Donald Trump for his
I mean,
bravery.
if they were so happy, they wouldn't be stressing out. So they clearly aren't happy. There's nothing. Trump literally hasn't tweeted this much since the night of the election.
Oh no, he's frantic right now.
Like, and when I hear them, I lose it because I react to anything he does. But most humans just sit there laughing at it because of what it actually means. Like, you only react that way to something you're fucking scared of. Like, you're not reacting that way because you're collected. Like,
this is the guy that's calling as he found out that his wife, who's soon to be his ex, has left with her boyfriend, and he went to the bank to cash a check. They wouldn't cash it for him, and he's calling frantically. Did you take the money?
yes.
Did you take the money?
Yes.
This is Trump.
Yes.
I mean, yesterday, like finding out that one of the that Melania is now somewhere in the Ukraine giving money to Zelensky, and it's all his.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
Cameron, that was all we had.
Great, she's feeding.
But I love this. I mean, I couldn't help but think of the Rooney Rule and the ridiculous application of the Rooney Rule. Although you would have to say that Mike Tomlin is the poster child, I guess, for the Rooney Rule, because the Rooneys came up with the rule, so they had to hire a minority candidate, a black head coach. They bring in Tomlin, and it turned out to be one of the great moves of all time. The guy certainly has done nothing but bring distinction to the organization, you would say. And
I still think he's had a losing season. I still remember last year they were supposed to have a losing season, and then didn't they make the playoffs, or they missed the playoffs by like a game? Like, I don't think he's ever had a losing.
No, he did a great job last year. I mean, that team was decimated.
And they fucked around for years now. Like, yes, when he came in, it was after Cowher, and they were loaded on both sides for years. But the last few years since Roethlisberger's been gone, they've been struggling with talent, and he somehow keeps them interesting every freaking year.
Yeah, so I mean, he doesn't get a chance, and you would have to say that people look. It's actually it took a long time, and you would have thought that this was never going to happen. But the fact that a black head coach had success opened the door maybe for others to get a chance. Isn't that the idea behind these kind of moves?
Yes.
Where and I'm watching these Republicans. The ones with the bow tie that look like they just left a Klan meeting. And they're being interviewed by a very aggressive. I don't know the man's name, but he's a very aggressive reporter for CNN. I really like this guy because he just keeps firing fucking questions at these people.
Okay.
And if they don't answer, he comes back right again with this. He's like the Jim Gray of news, this guy.
Okay.
Only not annoying. I mean, because he really is saying, hey, listen, he's trying to hold people accountable for what, having some substance.
Acosta, the only one I know I've seen and that I have any, because they've gone a little bit more right for me to sit there and listen to them.
Yeah.
But the guy, I know Jim Acosta is pretty solid. I know
this guy looks like he's of, I don't know what it would be, like Indian descent, not Native American, but, the Middle Eastern sort of looking guy, Pakistan. I don't know, but he's good. Okay. He gets to the bottom of things, and he's one of those guys. I mean, I was never like this. I don't know how you feel about being super aggressive, where you're the one that's firing the questions at the guy. And everybody else is just kind of sitting back and hoping that somebody has the balls to ask these questions. And he's always the guy with those balls.
Yeah.
And they don't mind capitulating to him, in the press corps because, look, he
gets it done.
He's asking the stuff that you really want to hear an answer to. So he's doing some, I guess, deposing of the thought process of the Republicans about the Kamala Harris thing. And every one of them is saying, well, like snickering at this, she's a DEI hire. as if this was awful, right? That diversity,
That's not even true.
equality, and inclusion would be words that you would ever want to hear anybody utter under any circumstances, even with a gun to their head. And yet you're thinking, wow, I mean, that's amazing if this happens, right? I mean,
Yes.
look at the opportunities that would be opening up for other people, possibly, if she is even the fact that she's being put up there and probably is going to, if she loses, do you think it's going to be close or
Yes. No,
is
it's
it blowout city now for Trump?
No, I assumed it would be blowout just because this late in the game to get things. The word they're using a lot, which is actually very fitting, coalesce, to get things to coalesce together this late, this quickly, especially as lost as the Dems were literally 3 days ago. It's like, okay, she's going to get routed. She's a black woman. No, literally, they have turned DEI, which is a positive term.
You would think, right?
Because they're really good at that. It's like, yeah, you open-minded fuck. It's like, yeah, jerk off that person.
I'm just looking at the disparaging viewpoint that these guys are taking.
What
She's a DEI hire, and I couldn't help but think of these, racist white owners like the guy, from Bud Adams, going and visiting the gravesite of Gene Upshaw and saying, "Okay, that's for those fuckers with the Rooney Rule."
Hey, Gene.
Like interview with that guy. That was, I mean, so revealing about what's really going on in the country that I was kind of fascinated by it, but it was not to be unanticipated. Anyway, the parallels there, Lubie. It's a good thing women are involved in sports, so they can learn these life's lessons that are often you can see them at least symbolically transpiring, and the crossover, the interaction between real life and what goes on the playing field. All right, we'll get to some of that, Lubie. Congratulations in order. And I found myself, this was the first time I think I ever zeroed in on any summer league basketball with any level of interest whatsoever.
We have to talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back. Yeah, I literally every year I'll tune in a little because my buddies get really into it.
Yeah.
So I watch a little, and it's like what the fucking USFL was, and I know Ken could watch it, but I would watch like a quarter, and then I had to be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
However, this team is really like this team, and the Memphis team actually was pretty close too, but it feels like an NBA team. Like the Heat won't get all these guys. But this Heat Summer League team has like 6 or 7 guys that I presume we will see in the NBA next season, which is rare. Summer League usually get 1, maybe 2 guys to find a roster. Like they have like 6 or 7. Like the guy Swider is like their 7th best player on this fucking team, and he's gotten like 20 points I think the last 3 games. Like this.
Yes, I know. If I'm not mistaken, didn't he play some games for the Heat either last year or the year before?
Last year he was in the Summer League, and then I think he. Early on in the year when they
and he was like a Max Strus type, no?
He's more or less
a fair equation.
Strus is a little bit better all around player. He's more like Sam Hauser, where like he's really good at shooting, like a Steve Novak. Like he'll shoot threes. He may get an occasional rebound. Duncan Robinson when he first came in, because Robinson now has actually become more well-rounded. But Robinson 3 years ago, before he was sent to the bench, was a sharpshooter. That's what Swider is. Swider is really good at shooting. I don't know if he does.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him playing some games with the Heat, and then of course they had a feature one time I was watching about the G League, which I don't fully grasp the whole thing that goes on with the G League. Do you?
No.
It used to be the CBA, and that was a big justification for Phil Jackson being a great coach. It was not that he won all of these championships with tremendous teams, the Lakers and of course Chicago Bulls, but that he won with the Albany Patroons. That was always the big thing.
Yes.
In sports talk, it was not uncommon at all because somebody would call up and go, "Hey, Defo," and it would really piss off Hank when somebody would call him with this argument, Hank Goldberg, and say, "Yeah, you know what, Phil Jackson, he sucks. If he didn't have all these superstars, he wouldn't be able to coach a dog to eat meat." And you're like, and everybody would go with this thing about, well, you know what? I mean, he won with the Albany Patroons. Which were they like the Washington Generals of the CBA? I don't know. I mean,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Was there a dynamic team in the CBA that? But that was it, and there was no correlation. You would see guys come from the CBA and get into the NBA. I mean, look, Pat Riley was famous for this shit.
Yes,
when he got Starks and Anthony Mason
he did
out of the CBA.
Yes, he's done it for years wherever he was, especially the Knicks and the Heat.
Cannot be overvalued, the whole idea, and this I mean, look, the Heat may have made mistakes in assembling rosters, but does anybody develop talent like these guys? I mean, it seems like anybody that's in their organization becomes a
He's
very
viable.
tenacious and a competent, efficient player. Guys that actually may not be superstars, but seem to maximize what it is that they have to offer.
Look, it's why year in year out they're competitive. It's why last year, even as an 8th seed, uh, if Jimmy Butler plays in that series, they would have had a chance to beat the eventual champions. I mean,
Yeah.
they can afford in this salary cap world, even the NBA salary cap now with the aprons are so fucking punitive that you're going to lose guys. We've seen it in football. The organizations that win are the ones that can just replenish. You can't always sign free agents. You got to draft. You got to pick up players that were quote unquote thrown away and make the best of them. And the Heat are literally, there's no way, because the Spurs don't even do that. I mean, people give the Spurs credit. Bullshit. The Spurs sucked. Spurs were okay before and okay after. It's really Duncan. It wasn't Popovich. Duncan's been gone like 8 years. The Spurs have been literally a bottom 5 franchise.
If Pop wasn't Pop, he wouldn't keep the job.
Like literally, it's really not the Heat. It's just the Heat, because the Heat have done it. Zoe and Hardaway. Then they did it with Wade and Shaq. Then they did it with LeBron and Wade. Then they did it with Butler. Like the Heat, the guys change. It's no other organization does like them, where they can lose players and just find randoms and make them viable. And then, and Andy brought this up last week, and it's something I've said forever. It's why when guys leave, we don't care, because you watch them. And yeah, Strus had moments, but he wasn't like great with the Cavs. He didn't become a star with the Cavs. Vincent did nothing for the Lakers. Like when guys leave, the new guys the Heat get fill that void, and the guys that left, you never hear from again. Like it's just what they do while guys are in house. They're really good at accentuating their positives and de-escalating their negatives.
They regrow the claw, Lubie. That's what
it is. Like a lobster or a crab.
Regrow the claw. All right. We have a lot to talk about here on the program, so stick around. We're going to come back with more in a moment. The interaction, sports and real life. I mean, we saw a couple of examples of that yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. I mean, this was probably the most interest I had. I wouldn't say I was riveted to it, because there are a lot of games and they tend to blend together. And you're watching Memphis against Sacramento or something, a summer league game, and you're thinking, why aren't I sitting out on the beach, while watching the birds blow by or something? The fuck am I doing with my life, But I always like the idea. I mean, as a sports fan, don't you like the idea of possibly seeing up and coming new talent?
Oh yeah, look, it's why the preseason is watched, because you can get an idea of what's to come. It's just usually it's people that won't be coming to anything near you, like your front door to drop off packages. The difference is this summer league team feels like a lot of these guys will be in the league. Like it just like watching them play, it doesn't feel sloppy or amateurish. It felt real close to NBA. Like that's what, look, a lot of people I know are watching, and I feel like it was pretty solid basketball. Like
it was better than watching Team USA, actually.
Oh yeah, well that passed.
And what was impressive though, and I would imagine that this was true with many of the other organizations, but we got a chance to hear from the Heat Summer League players after they won this championship, and very much like when the Panthers won the Stanley Cup, and they were interviewing guys that you would consider to be maybe minor components of the organization and the team and its success, and you thought, wow, these guys are just super well composed and seem to just bring a genuine approach that you couldn't help but applaud and appreciate, and think, wow, I mean, that's a pleasant departure. It doesn't make headlines, but a pleasant departure from the guy that's just making a lot of noise by getting in trouble all the time or whatever, or always having something disparaging to say, or getting involved in all kinds of different controversies. It was a pleasure to see. I mean, it really was. So that was good. Congratulations, Miami Heat, a well-run organization, and their first ever NBA Summer League champion.
Oh yeah, there you go.
How fucking slow of a news week must this be? I thought it was good. I really did. I was.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't watch the entire game. I caught pieces of it. I even turned it off when it went into overtime and was watching something else. But I came back just as they were closing it out, and I got a little lucky. Scottie Pippen Jr. In the game for the Memphis Grizzlies. Did you catch that?
he played well. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember him in college being okay.
I don't even remember this guy ever being talked about. All you hear about is Bronny, right?
No, yes.
Scottie Pippen Jr. What was impressive, throughout the whole thing. And then they gave the Summer League MVP to some guy who his name escapes me, but what an impressive and humble man this kid was.
For the Heat?
Well composed. No, he wasn't a Heat player.
Okay, the guy for the Nets. Then there was a kid for the Nets.
Yes.
Jalen Wilson, I think. Which
good call, Lubie. Nice job.
Well, because I didn't realize it was on until like the last. I watched I think the entire second half actually.
Yeah.
And they talked about that kid, and he was actually. I heard him talk.
Oh, very impressive! Wow.
But I've never seen him play, so I don't know what he did.
It was heartening to think, hey, this is all in good hands now, because you tend to think of these young kids, these young whippersnappers. Maybe it's because I'm old school or whatever.
Yeah.
And that they don't appreciate what the hell's going on. I'm like De Niro in The Fan there. You just don't appreciate what you had. And then you see some of these guys, and it is refreshing to see this kind of approach by young guys that you really don't know a hell of a lot about and think that they might be around for 15, 20 years. Influencing people, Lubie.
There you go.
Influencing people to do the right thing. That's what it's all about. Do the right thing. Just do the right thing. All right, we're coming back with more. We had some baseball. The Marlins became a tough out. Wow, this Edwin Diaz has got a little Antonio Alfonseca disease working for him now. For the Mets, Met fans are nervous. Comes in with a 3-run lead in the 9th inning, and the Marlins were a couple of feet away maybe from tying the ball game up. They had second and third, 2 away in the 9th. They had already put a run on the board. And Berger at the plate, who's been swinging the bat a little bit better of late. And I thought, wow, this guy just lines a single up the middle. This game's tied. It was lost from the very beginning, Lubie. So a lot of interesting stuff. And the Mets and the Yankees meet in what used to be known as the Mayor's Trophy game, now the Subway Series. But it's for real now. It counts, Lubie. Back then it was an exhibition, and we still thought a lot about it. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
And the Olympics. Do we know anything about the Olympics? Nothing. It's 8:40. Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Yeah.
Mr. Pentangeli, were you a member of the Corleone family? Did you serve under Capo regime under Vito Corleone, also known as the Godfather?
I never knew no Godfather.
Mr. Pentangeli, You are contradicting a sworn statement you previously made to me and signed. I ask you again, sir, here and now under oath, were you at any time a member of a crime organization headed by Michael Corleone?
I don't know nothing about that. Oh, I was in the olive oil business with his father, but that was a long time ago, that's all.
We have a sworn affidavit. We have it. Your sworn affidavit that you murdered on the orders of Michael Corleone. Do you deny this confession?
Look, the FBI guys, they promised me a deal. So I made up a lot of stuff about Michael Corleone, because that's what they wanted. But it was all lies. Everything. And I kept saying, Michael Corleone did this, and Michael Corleone did that. So I said, yeah, sure, why not?
It's now time for the Defo Show.
More of that yesterday, of course. That is life imitating art. Kimberly Cheadle testimony in front of Congress. She prefaced everything in a similar fashion as Mark McGuire did. Remember when McGuire looked like such a putz when he kept saying, well, I'm not here to talk about the past. And then he would go on about, well, I'm just here to help kids, make sure that they stay off of this fucking juice because it's going to give me brain cancer by the time I'm 60. He said none of that. And she would preface everything with what I can tell you. Which was nothing. I mean, she would, just immediately dismiss the question and say, what I can tell you is that we don't know what the fuck we were doing.
Oh, look, supposedly they watched the guy climb the thing. It's like, why would you not?
Video. I mean, there were guys almost in the immediate aftermath. I was watching the coverage, and they had people that were right there saying we were screaming at the cops that there's a kid on the roof with a rifle.
Yeah, look, I appreciate them if they did see him, not just taking him out mercilessly, because you don't know what, I mean, you do know what was happening, but you don't but you should do something. Don't just, he's shot, now we can kill him. It's like, what?
I mean, could she even get the security job? There used to be, there was always a guy called, that everybody referenced as Pops or whatever. And that always amazed me when racetracks had, their security people following the guys that were bringing the money through the track to the money room or wherever they were taking it. And they had the things that you see in casinos, those silver, containers that are locked up and everything. And they got 6 guys, and they would always have some guy that was like in his 90s with a shotgun. You're thinking, who the fuck wants this guy as your security guy? Like, I mean, what robber or robbery attempt would be deterred by the fact that Pops was maybe going to take a shot at you with this rifle? It looked like it came from the Wagon Train series, but this woman, I mean, she couldn't get a job even doing that at this point. You would have to say, and unfortunately, the answers were as vague as anything. Belichick embellishes more, I believe.
Oh God.
When after a series of, in the last couple of years, especially in the post-Brady era, where many of the losses incurred by the Patriots were just an outright disgrace, weren't they?
Yep.
His choice at quarterback turned out to be a bust. You were right about that, Lubie. I apologize.
I mean, it was
you said that this wasn't going to work out. And
he's a backup. He's fine. He's a competent backup. I mean, that's what he is. He's not. They were trying to make him a Pro Bowler. It's like, no, he's Mac Jones. He's a backup.
Andy and several others prominent on the chat line here. Mike Mayo has the answer. It's Manu Raju, I guess is the guy's name. I think he's good. I mean, he might be a little bit annoying on the Jim Gray side of things, although he's asking very relevant questions always. But he never lets a guy walk away without, like, he'll just continue to follow the guy wherever he goes. I mean, the guy goes into the bathroom to take a shit, and there's Manu in the next stall. Going, what do you have against diversity? Senator Nazi. Senator Jordan, yeah.
Senator Nazi.
Jim Jordan was great when they handed the baton to Jordan. Oh, he was brilliant yesterday. This guy, I mean, yeah, he should definitely be doing sports talk. There's no doubt that he was 100%.
He says it so seriously. He says crazy shit and he's dead ass serious. Like, dude, I don't know what you just said.
Perfect. I mean, perfect for what they want today on the sports talk front. No doubt. All right. So NFL training camps are already going. I was looking at this, Lubie. Believe it or not, I did a little research for the show.
Oh, good for
Even
you.
though it seems like I'm just wound up on some kind of drug that Dennis Rodman would be happy to take. And it's the top 10 storylines to watch as the NFL gets back to business.
Okay.
What would you? I mean, I'm sort of surprised at this. It's by a guy named Ryan Dunleavy in the New York Post. 2024 NFL training camp preview. Well, we took somewhat of a cynical viewpoint towards training camp. Was that because we were cruelly and unusually subjected
Yes.
to having to go out there to do that inaugural show when they open up training camp? And did the Dolphins officially open up their training camp yet, or are they waiting for next Purim to do so? What do you think? No, well, I mean, you see, teams already are heavily entrenched in this shit.
Not every. Okay, because that's the thing. I didn't realize it wasn't every team. Let me see.
The Chiefs have been there. Is that why they win every year? Because they're in training camp already, like
they
2
always
weeks
start
ahead of everybody else. Incredible. And so, yeah, I don't know. I want to say they haven't officially opened up their training camp yet, which would mean that on a day like this, possibly we would have been subjected to going out there at 6 a.m. Did that embitter us? And it was always done. I mean, what was weird about being this was mostly true. Maybe more true of our tenure there. Well, you only worked with me at 940, but I'd been on several stations that were the flagship station for various sports teams. But, the one that everybody wanted for some reason was the Miami Dolphins. Is that because...
It works on the radio. They had the history. It supposedly start training camp this Sunday.
Okay, all right.
Officially.
Not soon enough for a lot of people, but soon enough for me. And that would mean that we would have been out there like next Monday.
Yes, it was always like that Monday.
Schwitzing our brains out.
It was a disaster.
Early in the morning, too. I mean, the insects were the size of clincher softballs. Just like big round motherfuckers.
Worst training camp cuts. And they don't do, and you don't learn and
you don't see anything. You don't see anything of value.
Seriously, the reporters take everything seriously.
Yes.
And as a person who's watched football your whole life, you go, you're dumb.
I was always so happy when we were doing those shows that I had gotten out of the newspaper business.
Oh, yeah.
To see the psychotic and frantic nature with which these newspaper guys, who I had great respect for, it wasn't easy, I mean, like we were saying, you had to be able to transcribe your notes there and get the quotes and then formulate some kind of an article. I was thinking back, I don't even know how the fuck I ever did it. How did I ever write stories in a newspaper, Lubie?
I don't know. I look, yeah, it's funny. Like, you do what you got to do at the time, but then you get far away from it and never look back.
You don't have to know how to spell in this business. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to have sentence structure. How many commas are you going to use there, DeForest?
I don't know. The stuff, and we love Perk. We're actually close with a lot of the writers, and I appreciate what they do, and I read what they do. But to actually do it myself, no.
But that's a level of psychosis about sports that I understand. Who is it? I mean, are there really that many people that get into that level of minutia?
Oh, yeah.
Scoop Skolnick would be able to speak to that, of course, because, I mean, that's sort of who he's pleasing with the stuff he does, this in-depth stuff that he does, particularly on the Miami Heat. But I guess, he has like 100 guys working for him that do it on all sports.
They do it on everything. They don't get the same level of viewership for everything, but they do it with the Panthers. They do it with the Heat. They do it with the Dolphins. They do cover the Marlins, as tough as that is these days. Yeah, look, and the young kids are into it. And maybe when I was younger, I was more into it. So that's what you do. It's just interesting to me when you see guys who have been around a long time doing it, like the Windermans. And it's like, you really still care this much about it? It's fucking
Oh, my God, Winderman, amazing. He is one of those guys that's analyzing if Duncan Robinson farts on his way into the arena for practice. He's asking him what he had for lunch.
He gets so into it.
Was there a reason that you were having a kind of a gaseous reaction to things? Taco Tuesday, perhaps? And I'm thinking, I don't need to necessarily, know about things on that level. And that's, I guess it's interesting now because I sort of like touched on this like 2 hours ago. But this whole business and the reason that I had to miss the event there at Gulfstream Park with you guys on Sunday is because of this infusion now of artificial intelligence into the gambling world, which was about to have an impact on me trying to protect my interest and hang on to this stock, a rather substantial number of shares that I have, that I would like to be able to cash in at somewhere close to the $1.10 that it's worth today.
Yes.
That would be it. It would be Get Out City, my friend.
Yes.
Where would you go? Would you move to Key Largo and just get yourself a little place on the water where you could push a jet ski out in the bay? What would you do?
I'm in my place. I'm not moving away right now, but later on I could see doing that.
Well, yeah, you're still young. I mean, I'm talking about a guy that's like pretty
yeah, I
much
mean, I could
washed up.
see going to some island like that'd be cool, not too far away.
I could see it. I like being involved with people, but at the same time, it would be great to just be able to disappear, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Live a very quiet life with some access to humanity and society in general, but not a whole lot of connection. That would be great. But what's happening in gambling, especially, and I just saw a thing about this. I've been inundated with promotions and marketing for artificial intelligence in horse racing handicapping, Lubie.
Okay.
And apparently, this artificial intelligence is about to. Is it possible that artificial intelligence can literally, I mean, make up for the natural stupidity that degenerate gamblers have been exhibiting for the entire history of anything that you can wager on?
I would
Can,
say
can
no.
it turn a lifetime loser, artificial intelligence, into a winner? This is the assumption that some people are making right now.
Have they? Has it been put into practice? Like, how good are these AI handicappers? Like, I'm actually very curious. Do they have?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, my feeling about this. What happened to gut instinct? I mean, whether you're talking about applying it to coaching or managing in sports, or the way you run a team or approach a game, versus all of this paralysis by analysis, where can you really decide everything? Could you possibly have figured that South Sudan would be within a point, but by any kind of computer analysis of the United States NBA All-Star Hall of Fame basketball team, many players who would be considered top 50 all time, are assembled on a squad while still maybe not totally in their prime? What's up with Kevin Durant, by the way?
Really,
What's the story on him?
Playing? I haven't. He and Embiid have been fucking useless. Like, it's weird.
Well, we know Embiid. I mean, he's always banged up. Durant too. Now it seems like I don't know. There was some speculation that he would be left off the roster, maybe because he's hurt. But I can't fathom that any kind of computation, no matter what level of intelligence you had, only an idiot would think that South Sudan would be within a point of the United States of America, my friend.
No, not even close.
And Germany, what? This was a 4-point game last night.
They were losing by a point with 4 minutes left.
So what does this mean? I mean, are they just cruising through this early stage here? Is there a problem? Is Steve Kerr the coach? I mean, can he coach? I don't know.
I mean, Kerr's there. I think Spo's involved too. No, the coach, they have
Spo's involved, and they're this bad.
Yeah, they have their coaching staff's really good. I think the players are just screwing around. I think when they get over to France, Paris, wherever the fuck it is, I think you're going to see them unleash. We'll see. I mean, they've struggled in every game, and they're playing like Australia doesn't have Luke Long. Like, there's not NBA players on like the Australian NBA players are German NBA players are
Yeah. I couldn't, but they just won some international competition, the German team.
That's fine. Playing who?
So supposedly this game is no big surprise that they would be remotely competitive, but I'm thinking every game should be a blowout. I still believe that. Where am I caught up in the time warp here?
Well, look, again, they always said it is when like the Manu Argentina team would take on the U.S. Like, these players play together all year. They do all these tournaments, and the Americans never play together. So there's something to be said for that at the beginning of these things. This team's used to playing together, and this team's not. I don't know.
You get the best players out there. I mean, if you assemble the best players on the court on the same team at the park, and even if some of their styles might conflict a little bit because they're used to all being a dominant force with the ball, don't you win every game anyway? I mean, you usually roll over. The team that has a bunch of guys that look like Barney Rubble aren't going to run you off the court there. You're going to hold the court the whole night if you're on that team and are one of the better players. Wouldn't you think that this would apply to, shouldn't these guys be able to blend together even better?
It's basketball. They struggle for like a few minutes, and then they start beating the shit out of the other team. I mean, the best players should win all times. Yes, sometimes you get a Hoosiers situation where
I wouldn't even think they need a coach, Lubie.
A team's well coached and they do the fundamentals, and this other team doesn't give a fuck. Fine, but like if there's something at stake and the best players care, they should win. Just how
I know that this seems like I'm diminishing the progress that has been made around the world in basketball, and you see all kinds of talented players. Some of the best players in the NBA, if not the best,
all
are
five, the top
European
5
players
right now. Not one's American.
Yeah, I mean, you got Jokic and you got Doncic and Wembanyama now.
Embiid before he was hurt, and Giannis before he was hurt.
These are great players. But it's one guy. I mean, you don't have a roster of 12 all-stars on these teams.
That's the thing.
You got a bunch of nondescript schmanks that are comprising the rest of the roster. And, you maybe have 1 or 2 guys of that caliber. Yes. But it seems inconceivable to me that I must be I'm way off on this, Lubie. What do you do? Bet against the United States team? Remember when you had to lay like 60? You had to just the other night. It was a 40. I think it was 44 and a hook. The spread on that game against South Sudan. How far off could you be? But will this be all overcome by the application by bettors and degenerates like you and me of artificial intelligence? And would we be willing to listen? I mean, this isn't like getting a copy of the magazine sheets and you still have to make up your own mind. This would be just straight up. They're finding you ways to win. And then there's this middling thing that's going on. I don't comprehend it because I never really got the whole idea about middling. Yeah,
Andy does it, and I don't understand.
Because he's a stock guy, of course.
Yeah. Me and Ken don't talk about it, and I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Seems like you're getting too cute, doesn't it? When I middled that game. That was another thing Hank used to brag about all the time. Yeah, well, I middled that game. So he won on both sides. All right, so that's great. But at the same time, how many times did you get fucked? How come nobody ever mentions that? Like you would have won a pile of money if you just went with your original idea, which was to lay the 3 points with Kansas City. But instead, you tried to middle a game somewhere and you got fucked out of everything. That would happen to me if I got even remotely clever. But this is coming, Lubie. Artificial intelligence. If it's not, is it not in use somehow already? And I guess what if Mark Lawrence is punching the buttons? Does that negate it from being artificial intelligence?
I don't know.
There's a human being involved.
I don't know. We'd have to. I mean, hopefully in football season we'll get Lawrence back again. We'll have to ask. I haven't heard until you brought it up yesterday. I hadn't really heard about AI being implemented into gambling. I mean, it makes sense.
I'm a big fan of the concept here. Maybe all bookies will be out of business inside of the next decade because artificial intelligence will make it impossible to lose a bet, Lubie. How great would that be?
It'd be amazing.
This is right out of the Twilight Zone, man. Holy Rod Serling. This is fantastic. It's like having tomorrow's newspaper with the race results in it. All right, we have to get out of here. A lot of fun being with you. Congratulations, Miami Heat Summer League team. They were very entertaining, it turned out.
Yes, very.
And a lot of well-composed and really, admirable young men on this team. Listen to me, man. Sound like Urban Meyer. Oh, we have some very admirable young men. It's like, okay. But that was good. And then, of course, the Olympics get underway. They don't actually get underway what? They don't have anything on Friday, do they? Friday. The opening ceremonies. Are you a fan of the opening ceremonies? I find them a little bit...
I've never watched them. My mom will watch. My mom will record it and watch from beginning to end. The beginning, she loves opening ceremony. I've never cared about the fucking...
Yeah. I mean, the boxing team walking in while Tinkerbell is dancing in the background. Get the fuck out of here. All right. We're going to get out of here. Mayo Lunchbox, the Mayo Lunchbox today, and good call there on the reporter, Mike Mayo. You figured if anybody was going to come up with that answer, it was going to be Mayo, man. And Andy all over today, and he's right about this, Louis. I've been noticing this in all highlights of WNBA games, especially featuring any inside player. Traveling has been redefined in basketball to include at least a half a dozen steps, including multiple changes of pivot feet, and it's never called. And in the WNBA, particularly outrageous, the amount of traveling that they allow in this league. Will that ruin the league? There's your column today.
No one cares about traveling anymore. We're the only ones that care. Only the old men.
It offends my basketball sensibilities, Lubie. I mean, having tried to abide by these rules and called many a travel and been called for many a travel in my lifetime, how could you watch these guys do this and not say, hey, fuck, ref, what are you watching?
I despise it, but it is the game now.
Guy takes 2 steps, comes to a stop, changes pivot feet, turns around, and then takes 2 more steps and goes to the basket.
Tatum does that all the time. Jason Tatum does that all the time. And they're like, yeah, that's normal. I'm like, wait, what? You can pick up the ball and then walk again? I didn't know that was allowed. I'm like, how can you defend
When
that?
does that start? Yeah, I mean, what kind of fucking game is that? What are we playing? Dodgeball? Get out of here.
Defend that. That's not.
All right, Lubie, you have a good time. We'll see you at 1 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox here on South Florida Live. Let's Eat South Florida. Good place to watch that. Sign up. What are you at? Like 160,000 now?
We're at 160,000. Yeah.
Pretty good, man. That's a strong contingent, a strong following. Let's Eat South Florida. Mayo, did you think he actually applied for the Times job? Did he not even send anything in?
He said he wasn't even applying. He's not trying to go back to New York. He's happy down here. He
Yeah.
likes it. And his daughter's in college. He's at some point, hopefully the floods will subside.
Yeah. No, I think he enjoys it. I think he does stuff to induce flooding in his house.
I think he's his
No?
point with the car. So he's ready to get rid of this home, get a nice little condo, move into that next phase. Of
When the insurance company finds that jackhammer he buried in the backyard that he destroyed his foundation with, let's hope he's still with us. Let's put it that way. But no, I thought he was. He could have gotten this job. I believe he could have gotten it.
I don't think he'd survive.
He thinks I'm putting him on, but I believe he could have gotten it.
Eating that the guy had, like Mayo, and Mayo wouldn't skimp. Like he would do that. Like he couldn't survive. He struggles with the way he's eating now with his health. Like they're eating like 8 to 10 heavy meals a week. Like the way that guy was eating, there's no way.
Yeah, it'd be rough. Yeah. Plus, you're sampling like a lot of different stuff every time you go somewhere.
Yeah. They like he was weird.
That Runway 84 meal could have been the Last Supper for us. I mean, and it would have been fine.
Like every day in that fucking job.
Yeah. All right, kids, we'll see you tomorrow. Tony Segreto will join us. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurant. Speaking of fine establishments, man, they keep doing it. It's amazing.
They do.
And for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.